for a long time. Like, predicting 3D protein structures felt like something only huge labs could do. Very gate-kept knowledge.
Yeah, you were pretty much on the sidelines unless you had massive compute or access to, well, restricted systems.
But that's really starting to change now, isn't it? Which brings us to today's topic, OpenFold3. It's this new open-source model for predicting biomolecular structures.
Exactly. And what we want to do in this deep dive is really give you a practical shortcut, understand what OpenFold3 can predict, and it's more than just proteins, and critically, how you can actually run your first prediction.
Taking it from theory to practice.
Right. Moving from just reading the papers to actually using this stuff in your own work, whether that's a quick demo or integrating it into, real workflows.
And there are two things that jump out immediately, especially for folks in industry or maybe bigger academic labs. The license and deployment.
Oh, absolutely. The Apache 2.0 license is huge. That's often a non-starter for commercial use if it's more restrictive.
Right. IP concerns, legal friction around your data.
Exactly. Apache 2.0 basically removes those headaches. And then there's the deployment path through NVIDIA NIM, which makes it simpler to get running. It really sets OpenFold3 up as a viable alternative you can actually use without jumping through hoops.
Okay, so it lowers that barrier significantly, lets you focus on the science. So where do we start understanding the science bit, the capabilities?
I think the best place is the OpenFold3 capabilities and status table. It's like the cheat sheet for what the model gives you right out of the box.
Got it, the quick reference guy.
Yeah, and the big picture from that table is the scope. It's not just proteins. It's really a biomolecular model. Meaning it handles proteins, sure, single chains, multiple identical chains, different chains interacting, but also DNA, RNA, and interestingly, optional small molecule ligands.
Okay, let's look at that status column. It has things like mature, strong, preview. For core protein structures, it says mature. How reliable is that, say, for predicting how two new proteins might interact?
Mature means you can have high confidence. It's comparable to established methods for standard protein structure prediction and looking at interfaces between subunits. The training data covered these well.
Good. And what about the nucleic acids, DNA and RNA?
DNA prediction is also mature. RNA is listed as strong.
And having both protein and nucleic acid prediction in one model. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, it unlocks RNP biology, ribonucleoprotein complexes.
Ah, right. Things involved in gene regulation, RNA processing.
Exactly. These are super important biological machines. Being able to model the protein parts bound to the RNA or DNA parts, that's fundamental for understanding how they work and potentially how to target them with drugs.
Okay, now the one labeled preview. Small molecule ligands. This sounds really exciting for drug discovery, but preview. What does that mean in practice? Are these reliable binding poses?
I'd say treat it as a hypothesis generator for now. It's powerful, don't get me wrong. You give it the protein sequence and then the ligand either as a SMILES string, that text code for a molecule.
Like caffeine or something simple?
Yeah, or even complex ones. Or you can use a CCD code, like ATP for adenosine triphosphate. The model then co-folds the protein with the ligand potentially inside.
So it's not quite docking, but it gives you an idea of the pocket shape and maybe where the ligand could fit.
Precisely. It's a great way to get early ideas about binding, see how the pocket accommodates the ligand shape. It helps you filter possibilities before you spend time and resources on, say, more computationally intensive physics-based methods, a generative prior, basically.
That makes sense. It fits into the workflow. And the table also mentions mature support for templates and MSAs, multiple sequence alignments. Those are still important.
Oh, definitely. If you have good evolutionary information in the form of an MSA, maybe from CoLabFold or you've pre-computed it, feeding that in will generally boost accuracy. OpenFold3 can use that signal.
But it can also work without it, for design proteins maybe.
Exactly. It's flexible. It can leverage MSAs when they exist, but it's also designed to work reasonably well, even when that evolutionary signal is weak or absent, which happens a lot with engineered proteins.
You called it a foundation model earlier. What does that really mean for the user? Is prediction just the start?
Yeah, that's the key idea. A foundation model is trained on broad data, but it's designed to be fine-tuned.
Meaning I could adapt it?
Right. If you have specific proprietary data, maybe thousands of enzyme variants you've tested, or data on molecules binding to a particular RNA family, you can take the general OpenFold3 model and train it further on your data.
Ah, so you specialize it for your specific corner of biology.
Exactly. You turn the generalist into a specialist for your problem. That's a massive advantage, especially combined with the open license.
Okay, that's powerful, but fine-tuning sounds advanced. If I'm just starting, I want the easiest path. Which brings us to how to run a prediction. You mentioned NVIDIA NIM.
Yep, the hosted NVIDIA NIM playground is the absolute fastest way to try it. No local setup needed, no powerful GPU required on your end.
So walk me through it. Where do I go? Where do I click?
Okay, so you just navigate to the webpage. It's build.nvidia.com, OpenFold3.
Build.nvidia.com, OpenFold3.
Got it. And right there, you'll see example inputs. You don't have to figure out the format from scratch. You can pick something like protein DNA complex or protein ligand complex.
Okay, so I choose an example.
And it sets up the input boxes for you. For the protein DNA one, you paste in your protein sequence, then paste in the sequence for the first DNA chain, then the second DNA chain.
Simple enough.
Or for the ligand example, you paste the protein sequence, and then you just type in the SMILES string or the CCD code for your ligand.
Like ATP again?
Exactly. Then you just click Run. It uses NVIDIA's infrastructure in the background to run the prediction.
Okay, let's take that protein DNA example. I put in my sequences, I hit Run, I get a structure back. What does that output actually tell me as a researcher?
So for that transcription factor binding DNA, you'd immediately get a 3D picture. You can look at which amino acids are making contact with the DNA bases. Does it bind in the major groove or the minor groove?
An initial structural hypothesis.
Exactly. You can also check the confidence scores, like the average pLDDT for the DNA binding domain, to see how reliable the model thinks that part is. It lets you sketch out mechanistic ideas really fast.
And for the protein ligand example, how does that help, say, a drug discovery team?
It's a fantastic rapid screening tool. Imagine you have 10 slight variations of a potential drug molecule. You can run OpenFold3 for your target protein with each of those 10 SMILES strings.
Okay.
Then you look at the predicted structures. How does the pocket shape change? Does the ligand seem to fit reasonably? You use the visuals and, importantly, the confidence metrics we'll discuss to quickly rank those 10 variations.
You're filtering down the possibility.
Exactly. Maybe only 2 or 3 of them produce a prediction where the ligand looks well placed and the confidence scores are good. Those are the ones you prioritize for the more expensive, time-consuming follow-up experiments or simulations, pruning the search space early.
Okay, but you mentioned confidence scores. This feels critical. The source material rightly warns a great picture can still mislead. We need to know if the model itself thinks the prediction is any good.
Absolutely essential. Trusting a pretty picture that's wrong is, well, worse than having no picture. You must look at the metrics.
So what are the key metrics for OpenFold3?
There are 3 main ones you need to know. First is pLDDT, predicted local distance difference test.
That's the one usually shown as colors on the structure, right? Blue is confident, red is not.
That's the one. It estimates the confidence for each individual residue's position. So high pLDDT for residue 50 means the model is confident about where residue 50 is located in 3D space. It's a quick visual check for floppy loops or uncertain domains.
Okay, so pLDDT is about individual residue confidence. But what if I care about whether chain A is correctly positioned relative to chain B? Does pLDDT tell me that?
Not directly. For that, you need the second metric, PAE, the predicted aligned error.
Okay, PAE, what does that tell me?
PAE estimates the expected error in the distance between any pair of residues. So if you look at the PAE values between residues on chain A and residues on chain B, low PAE values there suggest the model is confident about the relative positions and orientation of those 2 chains.
So low PAE across the interface is a good sign for a complex.
Exactly. It's your best proxy for whether the predicted interface between molecules, protein, DNA, whatever, is likely stable and correctly modeled.
Got it. pLDDT for local confidence. PAE for interchain or domain confidence. What's the third one?
Well, sometimes you generate multiple possible structures, especially with the diffusion part of these models. You need a single score to quickly rank them. That's where PTM and ipTM come in.
PTM and ipTM.
PTM gives you an overall score for the predicted fold accuracy of a single protein chain or domain. ipTM specifically scores the confidence in the predicted interface between interacting molecules or chains.
So if I run 5 predictions for the same protein ligand complex, I should sort them by ipTM score.
That's generally the best approach, yes. Higher ipTM suggests a more confidently predicted interaction interface. You prioritize the structures with the best epTM and PTM scores.
This seems like a crucial practical tip. Always save the confidence data. Usually it's in a JSON file along with the PDB or mmCIF structure file.
Absolutely. And the rule is, if the beautiful picture conflicts with poor confidence metrics, trust the metrics. Don't get seduced by a nice-looking structure if the model itself is telling you it's not confident about it.
Trust the numbers over the visual appeal. Got it.
Every single time.
Okay, so the NIM-hosted playground is great for getting started, quick tests, maybe small batches. But for, serious high-throughput work or integrating this into automated pipelines, people will need more control, right? They'll need a local install.
Yes, for volume, reproducibility, and integration, a local setup is often necessary. The NIM demo is fantastic, but scaling up usually means running it yourself.
Is setting it up locally a huge hassle?
It's become reasonably streamlined, assuming you have Linux and a suitable NVIDIA GPU Ampere or Hopper architecture is recommended. It's basically a pip install OpenFold3, then using Mamba to install Colline2 for alignments.
Okay, pip and Mamba, standard Python stuff.
Yeah, then there's a one-time set-to-OpenFold command that downloads model weights and parameters. After that, you run predictions typically by creating a simple JSON file that lists your input sequences and paths, and then executing run OpenFold predict with that file.
And running locally lets you point to, say, pre-computed MSAs if you have them.
Exactly. Essential if you're doing thousands of predictions and need predictable performance, or if you want to use your own custom alignment pipelines. You get full control.
So let's connect this back to real research problems. Where does a tool like OpenFold3 actually fit in? What's the why should I care beyond just getting a structure?
Okay, 3 quick examples. First, hit triage in drug discovery.
We touched on that with the ligand prediction.
Right. Instead of throwing every potential hit molecule into expensive, slow docking or simulation, you use OpenFold3 as that fast initial filter. Generate structures for your target with maybe 50 ligand variants. Rank them using ipTM and interface PAE.
And only advance the top few.
Precisely. You focus your expensive computational or experimental resources on the most promising candidates identified by the faster AI model. Big time and cost saver.
Makes sense. What's number 2?
Design loops for enzymes or binders. Let's say you're using AI to generate new protein sequences, maybe an enzyme with altered activity, or a binder for a new target.
Inverse folding or similar generative tools.
Yeah, those tools might propose hundreds or thousands of sequences. You need a quick check. Do these sequences actually fold into the intended structure? OpenFold3 acts as that structural validation step within the design cycle.
So generate sequence predict structure with OpenFold3. Check if it's correct, feedback into generator.
Exactly. It closes the loop quickly.
And the third example.
Mechanism sketches with nucleic acids. We talked about protein DNA or protein RNA complexes. Even if the prediction isn't perfectly accurate down to the atomic detail, it can give you really valuable qualitative insights.
How so?
It might suggest, hey, this specific loop on the protein seems to make close contact with this base in the RNA. That immediately gives you a testable hypothesis.
Like, let's mutate that amino acid in the loop and see if binding is affected.
Exactly. It helps you design smarter experiments by providing structural context, even if it's just a sketch. Focuses your wet lab work.
And bringing it all together, whether you're using the Quick Start NIM playground or a full local install for production, the NVIDIA NIM packaging seems key.
Yeah, it provides those optimized containers with stable APIs. That means consistency. Whether it's the demo version or the one you deploy internally, you're using the same underlying optimized engine. Makes collaboration and scaling much smoother.
So, wrapping up then, what are the key takeaways for OpenFold3?
I'd say, 1, it's truly open source with that Apache 2.0 license making it usable in industry. 2, it handles multiple molecule types, proteins, ligands, DNA, RNA. 3, it provides clear confidence metrics, pLDDT, PAE, ipTM, pTM, so you can actually trust the results you generate.
It feels like structure prediction has really moved from being this niche, expert-only field to something much more broadly accessible.
It really has. The barrier to entry is way lower now.
Okay, so we're definitely past the spectator phase. It's time to actually use these tools. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given how accessible this is now, especially with the hosted options, what pointed question about biological function could you ask a colleague, maybe even today, if you just quickly ran a structure prediction for a protein or complex you're both interested in?
Yeah. Find a target, maybe a protein-ligand pair or a protein-DNA interaction you care about. Try running it through the hosted NIM experience. See what structural hypothesis pops out. It really puts the power to ask those kinds of questions directly in your hands now.